Hey everyone, welcome to another video with us, Outdoor Intrigue. Today we're coming at you with what seems to be one of my favourite topics lately, a review of some trail runners. And these particular ones are the Inov-8 Roclite G290s. I've put over 400 kilometers on them with running and hiking, so I thought it was a good time to give you a little bit of an insight into what I thought about them, good, bad and otherwise. So let's jump into the facts on these, the Inov-8 Roclite G290s. So the weight is in the name, 290. They are 290 grams, although these size 9.5 are just slightly over 290 grams, but still not too heavy. They have a graphene sole, so Inov-8 have pioneered the use of graphene, and the G stands for graphene in these shoes. You can pick them up online or in shops for somewhere between 100 and 130 pounds, generally speaking. So it depends on the size and colorway you're looking for, but I've seen them all sorts of different prices in between that bracket. So reasonably affordable, definitely not too bad for what they are. They're otherwise a reasonably minimal shoe. They're not waterproof. They use a very breathable mesh upper throughout, which just has a degree of reinforcement around the lace joins, and it has a drop in the sole, heel to toe, of 4 millimeters. The lug depth on these is 6 mils, so they're reasonably deep lugs. They have a traditional patterning that Inov-8 uses quite commonly, that's quite widespread for shedding mud and providing grip. And aside from that, they have a shank throughout the shoe that gives you a little bit of protection on rockier ground. Otherwise, that pretty much covers you on the breakdown of the facts. So let's jump straight into what's good about these shoes and why would you enjoy using them. So the main reason that I would recommend these shoes to anyone is that they're very breathable. Because of the mesh upper, they really do breathe very well. So if you're running in them in hotter weather, or you find that you get sweaty feet when you're out running or hiking, then that is a real positive. They also provide quite a lot of protection on this upper. Even though it is mesh, it does have quite a good degree of padding. So it's pretty light and breathable, but actually it gives you a good bit of padding. So if you hit your foot against rocks or other things, it oftentimes won't cause you any real pain or damage to your feet, as long as you don't do it too hard. I'm not saying kick rocks, but it gives you a little bit of extra protection, which is a positive. And then really onto the biggest positive in these shoes is the soles and the grip that they provide. Now the outsole on these has that, as I called out in the facts, these 6 mil lugs that have a pretty good depth, pretty good spacing, and the rubber compound has graphene in it. And I found that these provide excellent traction on pretty much everything short of wet rock. And even on wet rock, they are probably as grippy as what most of the better shoes are. Wet rock is just a tricky one. But everything else, and really muddy open hillside, they are brilliant on, which I found to be such a help when you're running, if you're fell or hill running. These are a really good option. They are minimalist enough that you get really good ground feel, which a lot of people really like. So if you're running out in the hills and mountains, you get good ground feel. There's not a lot of stack height, so it's not going to affect your stability, and you've got that good grip. But they're not completely minimalist. There are thinner, lighter shoes on the market that will obviously give you even more ground feel and be lighter on the foot, but you might feel that you're getting more fatigue in your feet, particularly on longer runs, whereas these kind of, I think, hit quite a good middle ground between minimalist ground feel and enough sort of resilience and foam to give you a little bit more longevity and help your feet out on those longer runs. I've used them on some pretty long hikes. Out in the Cairngorms particularly we were, and I didn't have any issues actually. I found that they were really good for that. I actually enjoyed hiking in them a lot, so that was really positive. The other thing on the soles with the graphene that's been pioneered by Inov-8 so much and seems to really work is if you have a pair of graphene shoes from them, you're going to notice that they just don't seem to wear down. These have got over 400 kilometers on them, and like honestly, the tread is hardly worn down at all comparative to other shoes I have of that age, which are often pretty much coming to the end of their life. These are incredible. They still have so much life left in them, which is brilliant because it means that you're getting real value for money. So that's great. And I do find that the graphene in the rubber compound also helps to create better traction. It is part of the reason that these are so grippy, not just the lug depth and the spacing, but also the rubber compound itself. Graphene really seems to help give you better stick on a lot of materials and surfaces. So that's hugely positive. And that's pretty much where the positive things with these shoes end, but those are big ones. So let's jump into what's not so good about these shoes and why might you want to reconsider if you're looking at them. So what's bad about these shoes? Well, through the hundreds of kilometers I've used them, there's been a few things that have come up. First off the bat is something that really, I should have known better, but it's worth calling out. They're not very warm. And mostly that wasn't a problem, but I did use them in shoulder season at one point last year, and it was particularly cold 3 days that we were out, and they froze solid. I was hiking in them, and I had pretty much cold feet throughout. But these shoes are not designed for that, so that's my own fault. Calling it out though, they're not warm. So the second thing is they don't have a lot of cushioning, which is pretty self-evident from the style of shoes they are. But once you start to get used to running in something with more cushioning, like for example, one of my favorites, the Hoka Speedgoat 4s, which I've done another review on, so go check that out. You really will feel the difference, and you can feel every rock. I know they say there's a shank in these, but I wouldn't say you'd notice it. When you're out on ground that is more challenging and technical, they give you that great grip, but your feet will feel the fatigue more, and you will notice that you're getting sometimes the real feel of those rocks and ground coming through a lot more. So personally, I find that I like a more cushioned shoe these days, but that might just be because I'm getting old and lazy. I don't know. On to the biggest one, and the most challenging thing I found with these shoes, which is because they have a pretty low ankle cut and heel cut and a really minimalist lacing system, I could never get a really good solid lockdown, and I'd often be finding my feet getting a bit of heel slip and general movement. And no matter which sock setup I was using or how much I was kind of rechanging the laces and tightening them, I would find at some point on longer routes, I was getting either rubbing on my heel or just a general looseness that provides kind of that sloppy feeling in your shoe. And that really for me was the biggest letdown. Again, it's going to be pretty personal because I've found in Inov-8 shoes in general, the low cut sometimes I struggle with. But if you know that that works for you, then probably you can disregard this as a negative. However, it is worth noting that they are very low, and that really can be an issue. If it wasn't for that, I probably would have loved them an awful lot more. And that really covers off the things that are negative about these shoes. So let's round it up on a quick conclusion. I think objectively, these are a really good pair of trail running shoes. They have a lot of positives. They're very grippy, they're pretty light, they're not too expensive. And if you're a thru hiker, they're really going to be great for you too. I know a lot of people who thru hike and have used these extensively and found that they're brilliant on long days, even though they don't have a huge amount of cushioning. For me personally, I struggled so much with getting a good lockdown and the low ankle cut and heel cup that I probably wouldn't buy another pair. I have used them a lot, and I did enjoy using them in many instances, mostly because the grip is just so good on them. But if you're looking at these, I would definitely check out the Les Sportiva Mutants, which is another pair of trail runners that I'll have a review coming soon on, that I think have a lot of similar positives, but just give you that better feel when it comes to the fit on the upper and the way in which it closes and locks down in around your ankle. So in conclusion, objectively, definitely worth checking out. Lots of positives, great value. For me personally, struggled with them. If you are looking for a new pair of trail runners, we've got a bunch of reviews on the channel, so go check them out. Otherwise, as always, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, then like and subscribe. Leave any comments down below. If you've got questions, drop them there. Check us out on Instagram @OutdoorIntrigue. And from the Highlands, we'll see you next time.